Any copyrighted material in this video is used under the law of fair use for commentary and criticism. The purpose of the OC Court of Justice is to learn about character development and is in no way meant to promote harassing the creator. No matter how angry I may get at them, please do not harass any of the artists mentioned in the following video. Thank you. Welcome to the very first episode of the OC Court of Justice, where I, your judge, will be evaluating some rather questionable original characters. In court today we have the original character Yinko, who is created by the DeviantArt user Meon of Death. I realize that this character is going under a lot of construction right now. However, the whole point of the court isn't exactly for the creator of what character I'm reviewing, as it is for the audience. Even if I get a bit pissy or just downright silly at times, this is really meant to be just a learning experience. So, come on, work with me here. There will be 2 reviews for this character. One review where I evaluate the character as they first started out. And then I shall do a redemption review, which then re-evaluates the character based on the new traits that the creator has given them. I'm not going to keep updating my reviews every time someone updates their character. No. There'll be 2 reviews and that's it. The reason why I feel it's important to evaluate Yinko the way she used to be is because there are things about her character and the way she portrays certain aspects of life that I would like to address. Alright, so now we're going to start the review on Yinko as she was first created, and a little bit of what her biography is now, just because there wasn't much about her back then. Yinko is an 18-year-old kitsune, and she's also a fire elemental, which I'm not entirely sure what that means, but she must have something to do with fire, so that's what I expect to see from her at some point. Since I don't know much about the kitsune legend, I won't be judging her character on that too much. I mean, I will to an extent. However, I'll be saving myself a little room for error. Yinko's parents die in a car crash and she's sent to a Christian family. Now, they're very conservative and they're very worried about protecting her from boys and, revealing clothing, I guess. At the age of 13, Yinko is picked on at school for the conservative clothes that she wears. Apparently the girls at school must have thought that she's dowdy, but she's 13, you know, what the fuck is she supposed to wear, a tube top? And it's at this moment that her big love interest, Jeff the Killer, intervenes and saves her from the mean nasty girls. However, he is not Jeff the Killer at this moment, and I'll go on about the portrayal of his character later on. Continuing on with Yinko's biography, as it was written like a week or so ago, because I don't have her old biography to go off of, Yinko's conservative parents tell her to stay away from Jeff, which in the end they're kind of right, but anyway, at this point he's still a good guy apparently, and she becomes close with Jeff. And at some point, for no apparent reason at all, she turns into a kitsune. So she starts out human and then she turns into a kitsune. And when she does, her family, you know, after trying to protect her all of these years, suddenly completely turn their back on her. Okay, it kind of makes sense. They're Christian, and they're against demons and whatever. But still, you would think instead of immediately becoming hostile with her, they would try to help her. Especially since she's close enough to refer to them as her parents, even though they're only her step-parents. You definitely get this impression of, oh, poor me, everybody hates me, do you feel sorry for me? From the way that this person executes this character. So after her parents so easily disown her, Yinko comes across Jeff the Killer. And now he is Jeff the Killer, the homicidal maniac who just goes around butchering people like as if they're pigs. But for some reason, even though he's been through hell and back and he's made a complete character change, he still finds himself intrigued by Yinko. Then Jeff tells her that there's a place for freaks like her and him, and he takes her away to the land of, misfit creepypasta, where Slenderman has apparently opened up like an orphanage for all of the creepypasta people, and that's where they all live. So yeah, everyone knows each other, and they're all good friends, and apparently Slenderman can talk to people even though he has no mouth, but okay, whatever. Moving on. Then Yinko becomes his proxy, where he carves his name into her tramp stamp area. So for this one guy, she changes her whole demeanor and suddenly becomes capable of killing people and whatnot. The things you do for love, am I right? This, I believe, is during the point where a major story change has happened. Now, I'll let you all know this. I haven't seen this for myself, but according to a lot of users out there, Yinko was gang raped. This has been changed to her just being mildly sexually assaulted by one man. Also, that is something that I'll get more into later because it really pisses me off. Then she goes on to this whole BDSM thing, and they live happily ever after in the land of misfit creepypasta. Let me start off by saying one thing. Personally, I think the art style is very good, but unfortunately, that's kind of the end of things I like about this character, and art style isn't really something that's particular to one character anyway. The first bone I have to pick about this character is that supposedly Yinko was a creepypasta OC. Now, I do believe the creator herself said that Yinko isn't, but also I remember reading that the creator was defending why Yinko does fit into the creepypasta world, which isn't really a world anyway. Every character belongs in its own story, but whatever. So I'm a little torn. Perhaps she recently decided to take her out of creepypasta, or perhaps she still plans on having her in creepypasta. But regardless of whether she's going to keep her there or not, there are creepypasta OCs like Yinko out there. So I'll be judging how this character fits as a creepypasta OC. And I have to say it's not very good. Visually, her character isn't frightening in the least. And at some point I did hear the creator commenting and saying that, well, it's her actions that define her. And I have to say, her actions don't really scare me either. I mean, there is really nothing scary about this OC. There's like one picture where she's bloodied up and there's like a gratuitous panty shot. Once again, there's nothing scary about that picture, especially when you're focusing on her cooch, which the creator just excuses as she likes to do detail, but I've seen my own panties before. You can't see every little bit and crevice of what's going on down there. It's not even realistic. You can't just pair your OC with a character like Jeff and then expect them to inherit the things that make him scary. It just doesn't work that way. Your OC needs to stand on its own 2 feet. However, even if Yinko isn't considered a creepypasta OC, and I'm not even a fan of Jeff the Killer, I hate that pairing, and that's mainly because he isn't really even Jeff the Killer anymore. However, even if Yinko wasn't considered a creepypasta OC, I don't remember if I saw this myself, but there seems to be a general consensus that the creator says that this isn't really Jeff, this is her version of Jeff, which I don't think that's right. Either you want that character or you don't. It's not really fair to take a character from another story and then just cherry pick what you want from them. I mean, Jeff the Killer, originally he's very ugly because his face is all fucked up. But of course, who wants to date a guy with a fucked up face? So, take that out of the equation. Break canon, why don't we? Also, he's a maniac. He's not going to have feelings of love for anybody. I'm currently myself dealing with a situation like that in a fanfiction. However, sometimes you just really have to skate around it, and you can't really have a love relationship between those 2 characters. Jeff doesn't have the capacity to love. Once again, let's just cherry pick that out. Another thing about her looks is that she's just way too stereotypically perfect. She has this skinny ass waist and these like big ol' hips, and then she has, humongous ass titties. And then of course she has the cute little fox ears. With all the people who have eating disorders and take part in self-harm, I find this stereotypical portrayal to be very bad for our societal psyche, especially since we indulge in it so much, and it's a completely unachievable body type anyway. This definitely seems like a pretty bad case of self-insert right here, what the creator wishes they could be. And I've seen the creator before. She's definitely not bad looking at all, but we all have a lot of trouble accepting ourselves, and I'm sure that in a way Yinko is just like this big wish fulfillment character. But what really irks me about this is the over-sexualization of her character when she had apparently been sexually abused. As I said earlier, the way it was written before, Yinko was gang raped. You can't just have such a heavy topic like that and completely ignore the effects it would have on a person. Not just emotionally, but physically. So how it used to be written was that she was gang raped, and even though usually in a gang rape the victim is beaten to a pulp, you know, she comes out of it all fucking fine looking. And while there are some mentions of her being afraid of people afterwards, it's kind of like the thing you sort of shove in there just to be like, okay, yeah, that did happen. First and foremost, I want to be a game designer. And I'll be referring things like Silent Hill a lot because I think they did character creation perfectly to a T. In Silent Hill 2, you deal with a girl who had been raped and beaten by her brother and her father, and her mother just didn't give a shit. Angela, the victim, doesn't just become afraid of people, and doesn't just become insane either. It's a mixture of a lot of things that tell you that this really happened to her character, and it had a remarkable effect on who she became. Not only was she mentally unstable, but she also looked and sounded very worn out, and she was very socially awkward. Even though you felt sorry for her character, you didn't really want to be involved in her crap. As far as I'm concerned, Yinko never went through something that fucking traumatic. And it is a good thing that the creator switched it to a minor sexual assault than a full-on rape. When you involve something like that in a character's background and you don't really show the effects of it and how it really mattered to them, it makes it look like one of two things. One, you're just using a cheap and easy tactic to make people feel sorry for your character, or two, it's kind of like you're trying to validify that this character is indeed attractive because people would go as far to rape them, which is utmost disgusting. Now that is a pretty big thing to accuse someone, and in the case of Meon of Death, I don't think someone like her would deliberately go into creating a character thinking that at all. In fact, I don't think many or anybody actually would, but it's the kind of thing that I would imagine would subconsciously go on in the back of their mind. This is based off of the context that I am given to deal with, especially since there was only any real context given long after Yinko was created. Once again, I'm not trying to portray the creator as this person who thinks that rape is a badge to wear, but when you treat subjects like that with such little care and concern, that is what it's going to look like to other people, whether you like it or not. The background of a character makes them who they are. You can't just throw a bunch of random shit into a character just to make them cool. If you are going to write a character who is a survivor of sexual abuse, or any traumatic event really, but let's stick with the example here to make it easy, then they are going to have certain traits that are common within people in real life who are survivors of sexual abuse. If you don't like those traits, then don't even go there. Don't write that into the character's background. They don't need it. It's not a badge to wear, and it just comes off as a poor attempt to make people feel sorry for them. Her tragic background especially doesn't make sense when she gets into the whole BDSM thing. You could pull it off that she had some sort of an adverse reaction to it and became quite accustomed to the BDSM because of the abuse that she had taken on. But that isn't a healthy relationship. That is basically saying that someone has been abused so much that they're now used to it and they only feel like somebody loves them when they abuse them. Well, now, the moment we've all been waiting for. The judge has finally come to her decision. Yinko, by Meon of Death, you have been charged with obvious self-insert, glorification of sexual abuse, being the perfect woman, canonical bastardization, and just a not very well thought out background. Yinko, you have been found guilty. Your sentence? 90 years in OC prison. Will Yinko be revamped into a character we can all learn to love without being completely scrapped first? Find out next time. And thank you very much for watching, few people out there.